So I would say that we implement now how we can add those IK chains to the IK rig. And for that we still need to open our Blutility again. TT toolbox, editor hooks, and where is it? IK rig functions. So here we need to introduce a new function. Let's call it add IK chains from data table. So of course here we need a parameter, a data table row handle, compile please, and call it data table. So, and we can also, let's duplicate this function and say add IK chains. That's our normal approach, that we have a function where we don't have to set the data table and we remove this variable, and we call our other function here and promote this to a local variable and say data table, what we do all the time. I really like this because then you have maybe a default setting or so, and here we can set our IK chain on chains, and we can select UE5 Manny, compile, save. So this function is already done, it's in the character tools, this function as well, and we now need to implement this one. So click on split struct pin and say get row, and also connect the row name, and we need to introduce a local variable, say IK chains, and here we use our IK chain, yes, this one, and we need to set this one. So in case you want to introduce an error message here, you can do this. I will skip this for the video here to move on and be a little bit quicker. So let me also check what we now need to implement. So as always, say asset get selected assets, then we iterate over them with the for loop like always, and let me also cast this IK rig definition like we had before, IK rig definition. So here's the same, if the cast fails you can introduce a error message here. I will skip this for this video. IK rig definition, and we move this to the left, and then we need a sequence node, and also call add IK bound chains. Here we need the IK rig definition, that's this one basically, which we need to set. Also it's a little bit prettier, and we need to get our LIK chains. I think here we need to say split struct pin, yes, then we have the array because this only contains one member, so it's perfectly fine. And we move this to the left a little bit, or to the right a little bit more, and this one is done. So what we need to do now is to iterate over all IK chains with a for loop for each loop, connect the execution pin, and we need also to promote this to a local variable, say LIK chain. So it will save us later a little bit of headaches with crossing wires. And then we need a branch node. So, and the condition is if we break, and the goal. We need to ask the goal. So if this is not equal, so basically if we have a valid name, then we need to continue on the true execution path. Otherwise we will skip this chain because it does not provide any goal which we need to set, because that's a different function which we will soon implement in the C++ world. And then we need to call our set ik goal function, which we introduced in the first session. Of course, ik rig definition is needed. Connect this one here and align everything. Yes. So, and here we need to get the ik chain and do a split struct pin, and we need to connect the proper values here. So let me check. So it's the chain name and of course the goal. And here we will introduce an error message because this is very important. Maybe there went something wrong above here and we don't have this ik chain. So that's very annoying. And for that, this one I will speed up a little bit. And select this on the files path, connect this. And it's the append node basically. And here we will use the chain name and the goal. Correct? Yes, it is. Why is it so weird? So fail to set ik goal. So that's not correct. That's the ik goal here for bone chain. So we can avoid crossing wires here. I did something wrong, seems to be the case when I implemented it the first time. So that's perfectly fine. The blueprint side is now correctly set up and we can compile, save, but it does not do anything yet. And we still need to, I really don't want to print this to the screen. That's so annoying always. So that's correctly set up. And we now need to go into the C++ world and implement our two functions, which we will open with the Studio 4. So, and for that, we will go down and press Ctrl O. And at first we will add the function add ik bone chains. We'll work on this one at first because this is very easy. And as usual, we will start with the comments so that you will see what is going on, and then we will implement the functions. We check the input arguments like always. We then will delete all existing chains if there are. And let me quickly check, and then we will add the new ik chains. So how can we do this? So at first we start here with input arguments. If the ik rig definition is not valid, we will stop working, and for that we will use this, reuse this error message, but use the correct function name here. So we say called add ik chains with invalid ik rig definition, and then we will need to get the controller. It's very similar all the time in Unreal Engine. Seems to be that the Epic guys decided to reuse this pattern all the time. And here we will ask the ik rig controller to get the ik rig controller for this ik rig definition. Oh yeah, but that's how it is. And then we will also reuse this error message here and say during getting the ik rig controller for %s. Oh no, let's use this one. %s in failed, comma. If you come up with better error messages, please let me know in the comments below. And for that we will use this stuff here. Save everything to the clipboard and paste it here. So this is already here, and now we can remove the chains. So that's how we can do is the following, like here. So we open a new scope because that's how I code most of the time, and because I don't want to reuse this retarget chains variable anymore. And I'm wondering a little bit why I decided to code like this. Normally it should be like this. Let's see if this works. And then we have the controller and the retarget chain, and for that, let me see what is returned here. I'm really confused with this code. So what do we get here? An array. Oh yeah, so let's introduce an ampersand here as well. It should be a reference to avoid copying data around here. We just use a reference here, and we can also reuse the error message here. So during removing of retarget chain in and doing removing of the retarget chain, no, removing retarget chain in function failed. So if you step into this error, I would be really interested what happened, but yeah, so far I did not see any error here. So, and also what we now need to do is add our IK chains. So for that we iterate over all of them. I don't know why I forgot all these ampersands here. So it's also an array, or maybe oh, it's fine. And then we will get retarget chain by name. So if this is already present, we cannot continue, and we need to erase an error message here. So during adding retarget chain failed. So, and then we can ask the controller that we want to add an IK chain with the name, with the start bond name and the end bond name. You cannot set here the IK goals, because at first you need to add them. That's why I decided to split this into two functions. And for that we will continue with implementing stuff, and we will implement the other message, which is super similar. So we also, as always, check the input arguments, and then we basically set the IK goal within the IK chain. A lot of IK. I already get confused. And for that we will use this one here. So we check the IK rig definition, and we just copy this error message over. As you see, when I code, most of the time I add the error messages afterwards. At first focus on the business logic. So then we can also just reuse this one here again, because we also need to get the controller. Get the controller, or the ikrig definition controller. I think that's how it's called. Or let's say ikrig controller. And we also need to change the function name here. And then we return false because it basically failed. And then again we need to ask, check if the ik chain is present in the ikrig definition. So that's what we can ask ikrig controller get goal. If it returns a false, then it will not work. And if everything is fine, we can set our ik goal like this. And this one, if I remember correctly, yeah, it returns a boolean, and that's why we can just say return, then we return the return value of this function, and then we add to this chain this goal name, or this ik goal. A lot of IKs. And now basically we should be finished with our implementation. And let's see what happens if we trigger our live coding friend here to build the stuff for us. And yes, it did not work. Of course it did not work. Can we? Oh no, sadly we cannot do this. So what is wrong? Let me quickly close the editors that we can trigger the build in Visual Studio to see what is basically going wrong. So let me quickly build. Maybe I have a typo or something like this. Oh, the ikrig controller is not known. Sure, we need to include the header file for that. ikrig controller h. So let's see. So we go to the top of the file. And we only have the definition. I'm wondering why I did not notice it before. So that's this path here. So basically that's the path where I install Unreal Engine, and we can go until public, and this most of the time is the include path. So, and if we trigger the build now, it should hopefully work. So implementation is done. Let's check if it works like as expected. So let's see if we can duplicate ikrig definitions. I think I did it once. So where is the editor? There is the editor. Yep, open the definitions again and the stuff we did so far. And we go into characters, mannequins, rigs, and we duplicate this one and say _test. So it should have the same ik chains, and we remove all of them now. So that's also very annoying. Maybe we should develop a blue utility here as well. So, but yeah, it's fine for me just clicking them quickly. Or is there? No, there isn't. So we save this one, and as you see, no chains are existing here, and we can close it, and we do a right click, simple asset actions, and add ik chains. So as you see, it modified the asset, and magically we have all our ik chains again. So we are done here, and I hope this really helps you to speed up your workflow during character integrations, and if you have to use this tooling here. So we can save this one, and I will just delete it now because our session is done, and I will see you in the next video.